IT Nation, Sean Lardo here with another segment of our IT Nation Europe live stream with my good friend in the better care side of the group, Dan Scott. Good afternoon, good morning, whatever it is, Dan. How are you?
Sean, good morning. Very early morning for you. Yeah, I'm good. You?
I feel great. Nothing better than 5 a.m. alarm going off, getting up and getting ready to sit down and spend some quality time with my good friend Dan. That's all I can think of.
First of all, you've moved. New room.
I have. I actually moved a whole new house. I bought another house now, and migrated my way 5 blocks from my other house. I'm now on the hill, so I'm very snooty. I look down at my other house, and I'm like, and for those that don't know, my mother lives at my other house because she says tenant, but there's no rent involved. And I look down at her and I'm like, that's where you belong, Mom. Stay down the hill. And then I go down there and I make her coffee.
Of course.
So, of course. So yes, I am. Thank you for noticing. It's still a work in progress. For those of you who don't, if you ever move, don't. It's a pain.
4 and a bit years ago, and still, haven't got over the scars of that one. Yeah, not doing that again in a hurry. So, speaking of moving, we get to ship you to London soon. Don't focus too much on decorating that office of yours.
I'll be moving across the pond for a good week there, and I will be there for a week because I'll be celebrating my birthday there that week too. Don't forget. So anyway, I like cigars. I like good bourbons and whiskeys and scotches. Just letting everybody know now. So now everybody's been on notice. With that said, though, yes, we got IT Nation Europe coming up around the corner, March 10th to the 12th. Anybody that still needs to register should do so. We're looking at having record-breaking numbers this year for our attendance, which is amazing.
Yeah, I get to say this thing now as well of I have to preclude it by I'm not just saying this, and also I would say it, but if you are thinking about joining us and you keep putting it off, a bit like we all have those reminders that pop up on our calendar and we say, yeah, remind me tomorrow, there aren't many left. So I'd hurry up. And it's a wonderful thing to say. And I know it's very predictable. I'll put my cynical hat on for a second and go, yeah, you would say that, wouldn't you? But it genuinely isn't.
You're absolutely spot on. I mean, I saw the whole world now uses Teams for the most part, I feel like. And in the Teams chat yesterday, I saw somebody say, is there enough spaces left? So that's the first time I've ever seen that. It's good to see. I'm excited about that. But also for vendors, we do offer vendor passes. You guys will have an all access pass. So you can, if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to myself or Davina, and we'll be happy to help you. Now, with that all being said, we have a good episode today.
We do.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yes, we do. Shall we bring out our guest?
I mean, anything you want to say about him?
Yeah, absolutely. So this gentleman, we have known each other for too long. I think it's carbon dating by this point of our career, if you know me, rather than dating when we got to know one another. And it's been a huge part of my career and of so many people within our industry. Someone who is renowned around the industry for connecting others, getting you the help you need. And if it's not something that he can help with directly, if he knows the people who will know, and has been a community person inside and out for his entire career, and someone who, I've been very, very beneficial to spend an awful lot of time with and hope to continue to do so. Mr. Richard Tubb. I'm very, very glad to be. He's going to be joining us today. Richard, good morning.
Wow. Good morning, guys. And thank you. What an incredible intro. And we've got to let the live audience know, just before we came on air, I didn't realize it was so early for Sean. 5 a.m. Look how good this guy looks at 5 a.m. in the morning. I mean, I know it degrades as the day goes on there, Sean, but, there we are. But, yeah.
You're right. It doesn't get any better, I can assure you.
No, thank you both for having me on. Appreciate it. And Dan, what wonderful words. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
No, thank you, my friend. Thank you for everything. So, Richard, we can't wait for you to be joining us at IT Nation Connect Europe.
Yeah,
not long to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots.
What are you looking forward to? What's on your hit list for the event? What's on your must-do list for what's going to be coming up in a couple of weeks?
You gave me the heads up. You both gave me the heads up a little bit before it was announced. But your keynote speaker is somebody I am a huge fan of. I've got to speak to him, a number of times over the year on the speaking circuit here in the UK. But he is somebody who, for the international audience, I know we've got people all over the world watching us today. Some people might not be aware of him. You're going to become aware of him really soon at IT Nation, but also he's going to become a household name, not just here in the UK, but internationally, isn't it? So yeah, Daniel Priestley, Dan, Sean, that is a bit of a coup, I think, to bring Daniel in there.
That's all due to Dan Scott. That was his brainchild to do it. So
yeah,
like if anybody's getting credits, the guy with the good hair, like Becky with the good hair, Dan.
I have to say that being able to make the announcement of who the guest keynote was going to be, and then literally the week after, Daniel having his second Diary of a CEO podcast, that was sometimes the lady luck walks with you, if you know what I mean, and you're like, oh, fantastic, could have scripted that one. I'd love to say that Stephen Bartlett's in our speed dial for when you can unveil DOAC guests, but I would be fibbing on that one. Yeah,
he's phenomenal, and for people like myself who are a student of the business game, not just the managed service game, but the business game as a whole. Daniel Priestley is somebody he's a heavy hitter. He's written multiple books. A Key Person of Influence was a book that was a huge influence on me. I think many of our audience today perhaps will be aware of it or have read it. If you've not, go and grab it. But if you can't go and grab it, or if you're not a book reader, the good news is I believe that's what he's going to be talking about, IT Nation, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think you said it best, though, right? You're not just a fan of the MSP game, but the business game. And I think that's where the one, me coming up, I mean, I worked for an MSP a long, long time ago before they were called MSPs. And, some IT guy, right? He fixed stuff, And when I went over to the vendor side, the same for startups, same rules apply, where there's a natural evolution, but you have to submerge yourself within the industry to talk about more than just the tech. And how many of the MSPs struggle because they never get out of just the tech conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm looking at my own career path. And again, this is not bigging me up or anything, because I'd love to say I had a plan for it. Dan knows me well enough to know I didn't have a plan for it back when I ran the MSP. This is all pure luck. But back when I was doing the MSP thing sort of 15, 20 years ago, I was essentially building what everyone now refers to as a personal brand. Which is why I'm here today joining you on this live stream. I didn't realize I was doing it at the time, but that's what Daniel talks about in Key Person of Influence, building this personal brand. And us three on the call here, we've got a personal brand now. Everybody knows us, for better or worse. But also most managed service providers today, the reason people do business with them is because of the personal brand that they've built up, as a business owner or the salesperson, whatever it is. So personal branding is something that we're all aware of now. Some people do it better than others, but Daniel Priestley was one of the first people to actually talk openly about that and share almost like a program, how you can go about doing that. And that's what he's going to be speaking about at IT Nation. So as somebody who has done this for a long time, swears by personal branding, even if I didn't know what it was at the time, I cannot wait for this keynote. And I can't wait to spend some time with him. I'm going to sit down and interview Daniel for my own podcast as well. And so even if you haven't got a ticket for IT Nation, and you should get a ticket, we're hoping to bring you a little bit of the flavor of IT Nation through that podcast as well, plus loads of other stuff. So thank you both for inviting me there.
In fact, one of the most wonderful stories actually with around booking of keynote speakers. As somebody contacted us, no names, no pat drill, from outside of the industry, and said, would you mind awfully if I buy a ticket, would I be able to come along and just stand at the back and just watch the keynote and then go? So it's going to look really weird when I register, because you'll never have heard of the business that I work for, and we're so far apart in terms of like the audience that you're going to be hosting for the event and where I'm a part of. But it's someone who I've followed for my entire career, and I've never had the chance to see live in person because of travel schedules and all those sorts of things. But would you mind awfully if I came along? And like, that's pretty cool. That's really, really great. Enjoy that a lot. People wanting to come in and see who we're bringing in, but it's all trying to bring, we say it a lot. Our main role and responsibility, and everybody on the team, is to provide value. The people who've invested their time to come and join us, everyone's got so many options these days for where they can invest their time, and none of us have enough of it. But where can our role is to reward that investment and to provide a return on that investment across the time that we're all going to be together in London. And Daniel is one of the ways in which I'm very much looking forward to this year's event and all the value we're going to bring, because that's what it's all about. On personal brand, though, as well, isn't it so wonderful that we're all part of an industry where almost the mechanics and the nuts and bolts don't dictate the value that we deliver, and also the value that that MSPs can derive and charge for ultimately, and they can see within profitability, and being able to bring a unique brand and position and value delivery mechanism to the people who you serve. That's the value of the service. It's not in the mechanics of the pieces of software that are being resold or the.
I've said this for
services.
so many years. I get sort of quoted on this. But it was taught to me by much smarter people. I've always said you can be the best technician in the world, but if nobody knows about you, what's the point? And there's so many people, and there's going to be some MSPs watching this, isn't there, who are hitting it out the park technically. They know everything. Us three might pick up the phone to them and say, how'd you do this, that, or the other? But when it comes to local business, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. So if people don't know about you, there's no point to it, because, word of mouth only takes you so far. So, something else I'm excited about at IT Nation and every event in this industry, but IT Nation especially, you bring together under one roof the best people in the industry to network with as well. So I'm very passionate about that, understanding your value, understanding the relationships you have with others, how you can deliver value to them. And that's not just for the local business community or wherever you do business with your managed service provider. That's within the IT, within the MSP community as well. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward. I live for this stuff, just getting out there, talking to MSPs, getting excited, maybe having a beer or two afterwards as well. But that's where all joking aside, that's where the real gold happens at these events. Coming along and chatting with other IT business owners. And because whatever you're doing at the moment, somebody's either been there and done that before, or they're on the journey as well. So it's good to get to know other people and exchange notes, best practices and ideas. So yeah, looking forward to it. If you couldn't tell, I'm a little bit excited about this whole thing.
No, we couldn't tell. And there's two things that you said in that last 30 seconds there. One is, I feel like the three of us, and there's a bunch of others, not just us, but we're not afraid to go out and ask how you did it, right? And our industry is not notoriously known for being extroverted. So I feel like coming to events, there's a bunch of introverted people walking around that are all uncomfortably comfortable together. So it's like a great way. It's osmosis. It's forced osmosis almost, right? So if you're trying to figure these things out, and again, me coming to conferences was the best thing I ever did to develop my own career. And I didn't expect to, I didn't know what to expect when I was coming to them and what to learn, but it gave me a chance to see other people. And I realized then that like everybody in this room is uncomfortably trying to connect.
Yeah.
So you just have to be the one person being willing to start the ripple effect, right? And if everybody does that, everybody wants to help each other. So that's one piece. So people not trying to figure out where we're going or what to do. I mean, we serve up on a platter for conferences like this, where there's obviously education, and there's a lot of people. But then the other thing is the educational piece. I don't know about you, but how many people that I know that are in space that never finished any other schooling after they finished 12th grade? They graduated. We're not classroom people, most of us. Where we like to learn, but we like to get our hands on it right away. So it's just a very different atmosphere. So again, back to education, you get to select the classes you want to go to at these events and watch and learn, and then come out and talk to your friends. So literally you get a recess as often as you want to talk to your friends outside.
Yeah.
It's big.
There's something I want to follow up on there as well. And that is, like, we know these events are awesome. First of all, I should say, for anybody who's not been to one of these events, and we're talking about IT Nation specifically here, but if you've not been to an MSP event before, one of the barriers that I find, and I don't know if you come across this, Sean, you speak to like MSPs all over the world every day, but if they're not aware of this community, if they're not aware of, all the help that goes on at these events, sometimes they can think, oh, well, why would I, as a business owner, go along to an event with my competitors who are competing with me for business and exchange ideas with them? And yeah, I know. And people outside of the IT industry look at me when I share this. I'm going along to an event and speaking to competitors and stuff. They look at me like I'm absolutely crazy, and they have done for the last 20 years. Except the MSP industry is fairly unique in this. And I've spent a lot of time in other business communities, fairly unique in that even though you might be sat next to somebody at the event who does business in your town, perhaps even on your street, there is more than enough business to go around. And in my experience across the board, MSP owners want to help other MSP owners because it's better for the entire industry. So it's a really weird thing to get across to somebody who's not been to these events before, but you are going to learn from people, and you would be shocked and stunned and surprised pleasantly that your so-called competitors are going to be the ones that give you the gold nuggets, the tidbits, who will help you going to grow your business. And it sounds weird, doesn't it, Sean? I don't know if we've had this conversation before, but trying to get this across to people who have perhaps not experienced that before, it's fairly mind-blowing, but that is our industry, and that's why we love working in it.
I couldn't agree more. It's funny because people, there are competitors. As a matter of fact, the user groups over here, I meet up with the Central Mafia user group, which we meet up in Chicago. We'll be putting out this interview. We did interviews. We went to the formerly known as CompTIA headquarters and recorded content there. Like I say, had a really nice studio there. And we actually had CISA do a presentation, educational class there that day. And then at the same time, I was down in the studio recording interviews with all of our partners. And these two guys, we're interviewing them. I'm sitting behind the camera and I'm asking them questions, and they're just answering like about their experience with user group and how important it is to be part of a peer group or a user group, et cetera, et cetera. And then we find that during the interview that they live in the same town and they compete. They don't see each other at all, except for when they come we meet up twice a year. So they literally they see each other twice a year at this group. And I was like, so is this like date night for you guys? And they're like, yes. And the one guy, Tony, which when we put this out, I was like, I need you to look right at the camera, and I need you to say right to the camera that Central Mafia user group is him and the other guy's date night. And he looked right, he goes, it's our date night. I was like, but they're competitors, same town, and they hang out and they share ideas. And literally, they've been doing this for the last. The user groups have been meeting up since, I don't know, they've been meeting there since 2018. Those two guys alone. So all those years of them doing it, it's a big deal.
Didn't know. Amazing as well, seeing people coming into our industry today. So be that from the investment side or through mergers and acquisition, through other companies moving into the space or investment arms moving into the space. And again, this sort of reckoning of, wow, this is amazing that you come together and you share what works, you share what challenges you have, the opportunities that you have, and everyone succeeds together. Like, this wouldn't work in legal, banking, whatever, insert thing here, like no chance, just no chance. But something we've got to preserve and we've got to nurture and we've got to promote within the industry, because it's one of our huge benefits.
Exactly, because there's people coming into the industry now who don't even know what managed services is. But they are essentially a managed service provider. As you said, Sean, when we started out, it was like IT support, the IT bloke crawling under a desk and fixing, I'm not even going to say Cat5 cables and things, but back then it was like BNC and things. Show my age. Yeah. But the point is, you were the IT guy. And of course, what a modern managed service provider is way much more than that. They are literally the trusted advisor. They're treated by their clients in the same way that the client might reach out to their accountant or their solicitor, lawyer, to ask for not just advice about the domain knowledge, but about all sorts of things. And, but there's people coming into the industry now who are doing that, but are not even aware of the term managed service provider. And it's always been a term that we've used internally, haven't it? And I know the ConnectWise communities have been in the vanguard of trying to get away from that term, really, because it doesn't really capture what we do anymore. But those are the people that I'm most interested in, because, they'll come into this industry, maybe stumble across this live feed today or whatever and go, oh, IT Nation, this sounds interesting. I do that. What, can I come along to the event and have a look at it? And then they get their minds absolutely blown, because you just have this entire community opened up to you. And so I've met so many of those people coming into our industry over the past few years. That's where the future lies as well. And, because us old ones can learn something from them, because they come in with fresh eyes as well. They don't come in with preconceptions of what it is you're supposed to do or not do. So. Yeah,
just like modern, new businesses that are being founded, entrepreneurial businesses, that rather than coming in via acquisitions or via mergers or anything, that are actually just being grown from the ground up, of what they don't bring with them is having to turn the battleship of established processes, established teams. To them, cybersecurity has been something that they've had since day one, or advanced cybersecurity has been part of their business and thought process from day one, because it had to be. and now AI will also be, and that their viewpoints are fascinating. And there's again, a myth that I often see is that people feel either, oh, it's all very established, and do I need someone to sort of introduce me, take me along, or will I quite underlying, will I be welcome? And of course, and B, is it, what could I possibly suggest to these people because they look like they've been doing it for a long time? Actually, everything. Because your perspective is so valuable, and the way that people approach problems in a different way to trying to reinvent the existing formula, that for me is where you get so many light bulb moments. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. One of our community members, you'll smile, hopefully he's watching this, you'll smile if my WhatsApp goes off in a second, and I know he is. And he acquired the business that he's grown hugely off the back of a very successful cryptocurrency investment, which I thought was just amazing. He said, yeah, I did really well, and I thought I'd better do something with it. So and then this was
he did better do something. So he decided that he could have been on a long vacation. I'm just thinking,
is very true. Afterwards, however, you might be plumb out of luck. You
could have bought property in a really beautiful place and just did Airbnb stuff and called it a day. Instead, he was like, I'm glutting for punishment. I'm going to become an MSP.
But it's absolutely flying. And again, comes at things with a different mindset to, and quote unquote, the established norms. I love learning from it because it just has such a different environment. Anyway, that's one of it. One of the things I love about this space is I hear these stories. They're great.
Keep in mind, this group here, our age demographic, we weren't born into technology, right? And to Richard's point before, even like my kids, I watch them with technology, and they're way faster than I am, right? It's part of their everyday. It's become part of our everyday, but we beat it into us. Where for them, they were born into it. Can you imagine what AI will look like in even 10 years from now for business relationships? Right? I mean, seriously, there's so much involved in that that's going to be different. And they're going to be so much more effective. The only challenge comes back to what you said earlier, Richard, which is business, not tech.
Yeah.
Can they transfer over into the business world of it?
Well, there's an interesting point. If AI, and if you're playing buzzword bingo, I think we got like 20 minutes in before we mentioned the AI thing there. But all joking aside, the AI thing, one of the biggest fears, and this fear has come up again and again and again in the managed service industry, is that will I still be relevant? AI is going to take my job. Will I still be relevant? If AI does all of this, and it's happened multiple times before. And of course, the reality is that if you've got the relationship with people, you are still going to be relevant there. There's technical skills come and go, but that relationship tends to hang around there and stay prominent. The really interesting thing that I'm looking at, though, is, as somebody who produces a lot of content, I write books and we do videos and blog posts and things, there's a big fear that AI is just going to remove the human element from that. Well, why would you read a blog post by Richard Tubb or Dan Scott on Lardo if you can, get AI to churn something out that's factually probably going to be better, probably better written than the English what we know, and it's going to do a better job across the board. Except AI doesn't incorporate personality, it doesn't incorporate the stories and things of that nature. So again, bringing it back to Daniel Priestley's keynote, Key Person of Influence, that personal brand is going to become so much more important in the future of not just managed services, but of business as a whole. Because again, I'll bring it back to that thing. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. And so the AI elements can absolutely bring in, a lot of benefits in that. But the personality part, people are still going to do business with human beings. So AI is going to transform the MSP industry technically from a lot of areas, but in terms of the personal brand side of things, that's where you can really stand head and shoulders above the crowd. And I was lucky enough to be invited. Sean, I was texting you because I was in Edinburgh a couple of weeks ago. Dan invited me to go to the Evolve meetup, which me as an old schooler, I still refer to as HTG. And it's only been 15 years since the name's changed, but there we go.
Yeah, recent.
And I used to be a member of Evolve back in the day, the peer group, and it, was so transformational for my business. But the relationships I made all the way back then are still relevant now. And there's people I've not in the room that I've not seen for a little while. And we were talking about things like AI and so on. But again, those relationships had lasted 15 odd years. there's people in that room that I'm still friends with now, still do business with now, 15 years after I was left that peer group after selling my MSP business. So again, I can't get this across strongly enough to people. Personal brand is going to be so important. It's nothing at all to do with IT, and yet it's everything to do with the business of IT going forward.
And service as well. You look at, I love taking out of industry viewpoints to things, because I think we can become a little bit insular sometimes as a community in an industry, and we can learn from going outside, especially into things such as hospitality, where things are so selective. And again, it's not about the nuts and bolts of what you're buying, it's how it's delivered. That's really crucial for me. And you look at something like the airline industry or hospitality, any service-based industry. Appreciate there are planes involved in the airline industry, but it's all about service. The same things take off and land from the same places, and broadly speaking, it's the same hardware, but we all have a favorite that we back. And we all have a preference outside of where we're hoarding flying club miles. And but it's also a choice of why you want to do it from vis-a-vis the service of it. And people will invest in service. They invest in something that they feel aligns to their principles, aligns to their values, and gives them an experience that they desire, and they want to repeat. And is good for them. So it's I think it gives you that chance to shine through with personality and brand that people align and buy into, rather than a homogenized way of delivering something that really is. It's that AI conversation, isn't it? It becomes all a bit lowest common denominator as it stands today. So now I'm 100% with you, 100%.
But the lowest common denominator, does it mean people have to step up their skill set then because of it? Because case in point, outside the industry, AI affecting, look at McDonald's. McDonald's restaurants, I don't know about you guys, but over here we have kiosks that you can order from only. There's not even there's not a cashier anymore. There's people in the back cooking and bringing your food out. So those jobs are going to change, which means you have to up your game, I feel like, if you're an individual and you want to have value at any business.
Yeah, I would agree. And the interesting point for me is that value doesn't necessarily need to be technical. So you've not got to do it faster, better, and cheaper than AI, but you've got to add something that AI, or let's be honest, coming down the road, robotics and all sorts of things like that can't do. And that is nearly always the relationship, isn't it? So again, it comes back to that building relationships with people, having the personal brand where people are going to come along and want to do business with you. And you guys have done it incredibly well. The fact that we're on a live stream right now and there's people from all over the world, dialing in. I mean, look at me, old school, dialing in. That just gives that away. But they're dialing in, to see you guys talk about this sort of stuff. Speaks to your own personal brands as well. But I'm really intrigued. There's lots of MSPs who are going to be speaking at the IT Nation event as well, who I guess they wouldn't refer to their own stuff as personal brands, but they've certainly built that because they've got great reputations within the MSP industry. And there's a couple that spring to mind as well. Peter Melby, who's going to be on the card there as well, speaking about Boss or Babysit. I love Peter's stuff. And for the benefit of the audience, if you don't know Peter's work, you're going to get to know it really soon at IT Nation, but he is absolutely awesome. And then there's other people, like I know an MSP from the Northeast up here, one of the team, Damien Harrison, who is going to be on the bill at IT Nation as well. Now, Damien's not a really well-known speaker or anything like that, but he is a super smart guy. That's the thing, super smart guy, got a lot of value to share. I've been with him at like Tech Tribe meetups in the Northeast and CompTIA or GTIA as it is now, and he has got a lot of knowledge to share. So again, kudos to you guys for shining a light on some folks who perhaps some names people don't know yet, but they're about to get to know, and they're about to get a lot of value from them as well.
Absolutely. And that's one of the best things about putting these sort of agendas together is you get to, I meet people out and about, and of course people apply via our calls for speakers. When we see LinkedIn posts going out, when we're asking for that, that's where we source, where we managed to create agendas from. But then also people I've met during the course of the year, and the team have and engage with equally. And it's just trying to find those opportunities where you think, actually, I'd love you to share that. What you just said there, I'd love you to share that. Could hold the thought and we'll come back to it in probably about December, January time when we're firming up the last bits of the agenda. And we'll come back to it. But again, it comes back to value, doesn't it? People are going to invest 3 days, 2.5, 3 days, depending if they're going to come in for the pre-day workshops. of their really busy lives with us, and we've got to make sure that we provide a return on that investment and send people back saying, I have to be here again next year, because of course we'll be back in 26 as for the first time ever. We're going to be taking it to an annual cadence, and we're going to be back, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But we do that not by Sean and I and the team, standing there with a microphone and running out of voice by the end of day 3. We do that by showcasing the amazing things that community members are doing, sharing what works, sharing what doesn't, because we need to know both, and allowing others to shortcut and benefit from their success. But of course, the amazing thing is that if somebody who has a challenge in the room also has the solution to somebody else's challenge, and being able to put a spotlight on people. Damien's a fantastic example. Privileged to know Damo through our Evolve Peer Group program that he was a member of when I first started leading the program back in 2020. And, being able now to see that journey he's been on to taking main stage, that it's a really incredible journey. And I'm, absolutely privileged to be a part of things like that with members of the community. And that's what we do. And really, I'd like to say is that, is a huge differentiator for those who maybe in the past been to some industry events and then maybe took a break or a bit of a hiatus. And maybe one of the reasons in there was, I wasn't hearing what I wanted to hear, or things just really wasn't getting the value I needed to. Go online, theitnation.com. Go through it, have a look at our agenda, have a look at our speakers, and the vast majority of whom are your peers in the industry. And that's why we do it. That is why we do it. So thank you for pointing that out. And 2 awesome speakers, and Pete as well, Mr. Melby, CEO of New Charter Technologies. Has grown his own MSP, and now leads a conglomerate, a group of MSPs that have come together in North America so far. I'm sure not for very long, contained within the borders of North America, to grow to even bigger and better heights at scale in the new world that we find ourselves in. So pretty amazing. So Richard, mention a couple. What else? Any other breakouts on your hit list that you've seen from our huge agenda? What else is on your saved sessions list going on at the conference?
Yeah, there's a lot. I've got to say a lot. I'm speaking to Lenka on our team. So Team Tubb, my team, are going to be there. We're going to be doing all the video stuff and everything else because, we do this on purpose, but I get people getting in touch with us afterwards, after these type of events where we do this sort of thing from. We are deliberately creating FOMO because we want fear of missing out, because we want you to know if you are not there, man, you have missed out. And that's why I'm so excited about this event, because trust me, get a ticket now, because you're going to get a lot of FOMO, and we're going to go, we're going to go a long way towards creating that while we're there, doing interviews and videos and things. One of the biggest challenges I have being there as well is I want to catch up with people. And there's a serious point actually for our audience who perhaps have come along to an event, as you say, perhaps for the first time in a little while. While the speakers, while the breakout sessions, all these things, all the schedule stuff is gold. These guys have gone to a lot of effort to make sure that this is absolute gold and delivering a lot of value. Don't overpack your schedule if you're an MSP coming along to this, because some of the real gold can be found in the conversations in the coffee shops, in the restaurants, in the bars, with your other MSPs. And actually, I speak to a lot of MSPs who, they get in touch with me. They're saying, I'm going along to this event or that event. What should I go and see? And I was like, go and see this speaker, go to this breakout session. But please leave a little buffer, leave a little bit of slack in your agenda there, because you are going to bump into somebody, sat next to somebody in a session. You're going to strike up a conversation, and you're not going to be able to talk while the speaker's on stage, because that's just plain rude. And please don't do that to us as speakers. But when you leave the room afterwards, you're going to want to continue that conversation. And you should do, because that's where some of the real value at these events comes from. They're just serendipitous conversations that you have with somebody that delivers that gold nugget, or somebody might be going through something similar to you at the moment, or facing a similar challenge. Or, as we've alluded to, they've been there and done that, because there's some real heavy hitters coming along to these events. And listen to them, have conversations with them, but make the time to have those conversations. So, can't stress that highly enough. We joke about all the parties and things are really great at these events. They are, but actually you build up some really great relationships with people just over a beer, over a glass of wine or whatever. So in answer to your question, Dan, there's probably too many sessions that I'm looking forward to, but I know from experience that I've got to cut out some of those to make time for the conversations that I want to have with some of the people who are under the same roof. So does that make sense?
Absolutely. Speaking of parties, of course, on Tuesday night, we are taking over Putt Shack for our IT Nations celebration. So you get to see Sean in his finest golfing regalia. And we're expecting great things, Sean. Just
What a
saying.
treat. What a treat.
Well, no, I'm such an avid golfer, said nobody ever. But for you, I will, we'll end it right there because I have so many thoughts right away. Yes. So yeah, when we go, I expect we should have like team uniforms. Like we're like just to come in and go golfing as a team. So don't worry, Dan, I'll find what do you wear? A schmedium? I got you.
Something like that. Schmalage, I think it might be.
Are you going to wear like the stripy trousers, Sean, and the hat? And
I've got.
Is Dan going to be your caddy as well? Because
Happy Gilmore goes to the Masters. That's what I'm thinking. It's make it happen.
You've never seen me golf. I actually am so bad at golf. I wrote an article about it. It's still on my LinkedIn, I believe. It's a long story, but I was golfing at TPC Scottsdale at a conference, and they had the week before the Masters went through. So the caddies from the Masters were still there. So those are the best caddies in the world, right? Our caddy towards the tail end of us golfing was like, I can't help you. There's no helping you. And that was after I lost like my 27th ball. And yeah, he's like, I can't help you. So if the best in the world can't help me, that shows you the level of my skills and how amazing I am at it.
Well, I was never interested in golf before because I've tried it a couple of times. I'm so rubbish at it. But I've got renewed hope now that there's somebody even more rubbish than me. So I'm going to be, keeping an eye on
Richard,
on your game there.
We'll have a race to the non-finish. I'll tell you how it's done. And if you ever golf with when you go to a group, you don't know anybody and you go to golf for the first time, everybody says, I'm really bad at golf. They all said it. And I was like, hold my beer. Let me show you. And there was an older gentleman at the time that he was really nice. That was part of our foursome. And like at the end, he's like, yeah, you aren't lying. You are. He was really nice. He's like, you really are bad. I was like, I told you I'm bad. Yeah. And the best part, the caddy was making up reasons why I was bad. He's like, it's you have the wrong sticks. Your clubs are the wrong clubs. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, you need the regular straight steel shaft ones, not the flex shaft, because you're just too strong for it. I was like, you're just lying to me, and I'll take it. Just keep lying. You're right. I'm too strong. Right. So yeah, no, I'll get us like Team Scott jerseys.
Well,
sponsored by my Lord.
I for one can't wait for this. I'm looking forward to seeing these.
Me too.
I may even get on AI afterwards and start asking it to give me ideas for outfits I can suggest to you two. So.
Yeah, please.
It knows Sean by now. It just goes into sort of extreme mode when his name gets mentioned in there. If you name drop him into any AI prompt, I think it just goes straight to 11.
Yeah. It's AI is a rabbit hole for me. I have to stay away.
Yeah,
I seriously do have to stay away. It's such a problem. So because then I'm like, and the more extreme, the better it is. And I think it's like when you play Grand Theft Auto and you think right away, you finish playing Grand Theft Auto, you can walk out and just wreck your car and get somebody else's car, drive away.
I'm not sure we do, but this is interesting.
Rational people don't do that. This is
like 6 hours of Grand Theft Auto, I can go outside and just get rid of my car and just grab you out of your car and get in, but drive away. If I drive fast enough away, the cops will eventually disappear.
So there's two things that I'm taking from this conversation that we shouldn't let Sean do in London next month. one, golf, or maybe that's arguable because it might be hilarious. And two, definitely not drive around maybe Leicester Square or Piccadilly Circus or whatever after he's had a good game of Grand Theft Auto. So
you guys drive on the wrong side of the road, so I don't know what to do. I'm like on the wrong side. I don't understand what you. I don't understand you guys do that. How did you confuse the whole driving system? I don't understand.
Oh, this is a rabbit hole.
Talking of AI,
I'm not taking the bait.
Don't take the bait. Talking of AI, there's some sessions on the agenda, isn't there, around what ConnectWise are doing around the subject of AI and stuff. So going back on sensible note, going back to what you were asking about breakout sessions and other things, I'm really interested because I'm a student of the industry and that to see where ConnectWise as a company are going with this. Can you guys say very much about what's going to be spoken about there, or is it pretty much under wraps?
Oof. So I think one thing, the stance that ConnectWise has is, well, I think we all know in the industry, AI nobody knew it. Still to this day, nobody knows what AI is, right? It's not been clearly defined. I mean, we know theoretically what AI is, but I think that you'll find that ConnectWise went with a more meat and potatoes approach to AI right now because it was getting, the possibilities are endless, right? But as far as being applicable to business, we had to reel it back in because there's a few people on our side that are very in depth of AI and love it and have done really cool things, but that doesn't mean it's applicable to the regular person. So I think you're going to see a lot of that conversation taking place.
I'll also point out a session from Jamie Claret on the community side. So Jamie, who owns an MSP himself and owns an automations company called Autonomate. Jamie's going to be joining us to talk about real world uses in how his businesses are out there today, selling and deploying solutions using automation, not just AI, but also machine learning and just scheduled automation as well. Because one of the things that I find from talking to community members is, again, things can get a little bit too nebulous sometimes. People can talk in, like Sean said, what's possible, or what will be possible, rather than that's wonderful. How can I weaponize this? How can I commercialize it? How can I create a service? So it's one of the really great things I'm looking forward to about Jamie's session is, again, there's someone who's out there and doing this today, and who is, has clients who consume automation services from him and his businesses. So yeah, really, really looking forward to that because he's got some, again, very actionable, insightful, and immediately progressible and achievable things that people can go out there and achieve that and undertake that he's already doing. So again, community sharing with community to learn from each other.
Jamie's awesome at this stuff, the automation side of things. I'm excited. There's so many businesses like Jamie's that have been born out of a necessity within the managed service provider. And so the MSP can't find the solution on the market. So they go, oh, we're going to do something ourselves. And then before you know it, that's how these businesses get spun out there. What Jamie's doing around automation, as you said, Dan, is practical, actionable. This is a guy, he's not getting carried away with, the buzzwords or the potential of what might be, to your point, Sean, but actually talking about, okay, this is how you can actually implement it here and now. So I spent some time with Jamie last year in the States. We went to, my wife and I went to a baseball match with Jamie and our great friend James Steele afterwards as well. Had a great time, but before the beer started flowing too much, I managed to pick his brains a little bit about the automation side. So really, really strong speaker. Again, credit to you guys for pulling in all of these different speakers, these different names from different parts of the industry, because they're going to add real value to this event.
What's funny too? I just realized, as you were talking, I started looking through the agenda again. I was like, I wonder what else I like. And I realized 2 years ago, if we were having this live stream, we'd have been talking about cybersecurity only. That'd have been the buzzword. Yeah. If you think about it, now it's all AI. Because I was like, oh, actually, I'm interested in watching what Patrick Beggs has to say. He's our CISO. And inside the mind of a CISO, which I think is probably a very dark and dimming place. So I'm interested in that a lot, regardless. But I was like, wow, we really haven't even mentioned cybersecurity at all in this conversation. And it was such a hotbed for so many years. And it's probably something you have to shed some light on, because regardless, that's a huge moneymaker for most of these MSPs. And there's a lot of disconnect as to what that even means still. Back to people don't know what an MSP is. Even MSPs don't know what an MSP is. Now you add the MSSP on there, and they don't know what that is either. And it's been it's literally like Bigfoot. There's sightings of it. There's potential, but nobody really has it, you know? So I'm interested in that conversation. And plus, I will heckle Patrick Biggs from the audience. So
again, for clarity, for those listening, Patrick doesn't look after from a ConnectWise standpoint, doesn't look after our product sets when it comes to cybersecurity or product roadmap. Patrick's all about securing us as a company. So Patrick and his teams wake up for the cybersecurity, not only of our platforms and us as a business, but also then helping our partners to achieve the same vision and goal, and sharing his knowledge and former US military intelligence. And amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because you're right. Patrick runs a small business within ConnectWise. He works for ConnectWise, but he's literally running a small cybersecurity business within ConnectWise. So
I didn't know that. Wow. Okay.
As a CISO, he's completely detached from the main business unit. He is literally the one. So he's a good person. If you're an MSSP and wondering how you go about doing that, you probably should talk to him. Whether go see a session, but then watch him afterwards or talk to him afterwards. One thing about Patrick, he does geek out on this, so he likes his stuff. So he's not going to go away from it, and he'll not shy away from the conversation. But like, he and I had a very in-depth conversation 2 years ago when we were going to Secure about how do you select your tools, how do you decide on how do you support this the right way, and I'm sorry I asked the question, because 2 hours later from telling me I didn't understand anything, and I felt dumber. We were all dumber then. And no, but he talked about people, process, technology, and he started breaking it down. So I think it's a good thing again, if you're looking to be a security professional, this is a great conversation.
Yeah, and person to have in your contact book. That's what it's all about: meeting people, and then they're becoming someone that you can ask advice of and help from.
You just said about when you ask some of these incredibly smart people, these experts in the industry, and I'm not referring to us three here, I'm referring to the actual smart people. And that's where my podcast came from, Sean. I used to sit down with some of these folks and go, this is absolute gold dust. So I started hitting record, and I sat down with Dan and did a session like that a while ago. Obviously, we've been friends and known each other for a while, but IT Nation, I think, is another really good reason just for people to come along, because you get some of the smartest, most successful people in our industry and from beyond the industry as well, all together under one roof. And the really interesting thing about this is, and I've learned this over 20 years of doing this, is these people are super approachable. You would have thought actually that, they're too powerful or too important, or they haven't got enough time to speak to me or whatever. That is not the case at all. No. So when I was running my MSP business and used to come along, and my MSP was a ConnectWise MSP, used to come along to the events and stuff, and I used to see people in the industry that you would consider like rock stars, the real celebrities of the industry. And perhaps because I was naive or whatever, but I used to just walk up to them, start a conversation, and they would be so giving of their time and energy and experience. And, that's where what I'm doing today is just pretty much passing that sort of stuff along. So again, going back to what I said about leave time in your schedule, leave time, some buffer in your schedule as an MSP to have those chance conversations, but don't be afraid of going up to one of the speakers afterwards and asking them a question, or just saying, thank you, you delivered great value. Because trust me, as a speaker myself, and I know you two get this as well, sometimes you come off stage and you go, well, did that deliver value for people or not? I'm not sure. So it really does mean a lot if somebody comes up and says, thank you, that meant, that I appreciate that. But don't be afraid to have conversations with the speakers. Don't be afraid to have conversations with the CEOs, the CISOs, the rock stars in our industry, because in my experience, they are super approachable. And even if they're time poor, they will make the time to speak to you and share freely of their knowledge and experience. And again, another reason why our industry is just so damn great. I love it.
Yeah, it's huge. And it's the same from our side when we're putting the agendas together, and you think, oh, could I approach that person and could I ask them to come and do this? And every time it's people are grateful, and they're like, oh wow, really, I didn't think, thank you for thinking of me. And they really want to share and they want to give back. and they're grateful for the opportunity, even, but so am I, and Sean and the whole team for them giving their time, talent, and treasure to help the community. This is the wonderful thing about, as Richard, as you so rightly say, about our business. One that I'll highlight, and it's definitely one that I'm going to be in the back of the room for as I run round and make sure doing what we do and making sure everything's doing what it needs to on the day, is Kevin O'Loughlin, Gary Byrne, and Gary Melvin from Nostra, currently in Ireland, but may not be for much longer, and only contained within. And Nostra just been on this explosive growth journey in the past, over the past probably at least 5 years, I think, since they were a big business and considerable business to start with, but then also just gone on this exponential growth journey. They're going to be talking about lessons from a hyperscaler, because whatever challenges that you're seeing, not only will they have seen them, but they'll have seen them at volume and scale. So you learn not to just fix a problem, you learn how to fix a process, and you learn how to, rather than just dealing with whack-a-mole on the individual problems, you learn about how you can correct it so that it stops being a problem going forwards. And again, like I've been privileged to know Kevin for a number of years through other community engagements and through events in the industry. And this is, these things happen. We saw each other in Spain at an event, and I said to him, I would really value if you would you come and tell a story? And I sort of built myself up to it for a little while. I'm doing. And of course, it's they were wonderful. We had a call when we got back to the office. We'd love to help and give back, and we'd love to help others on their journey. And yeah, so 100% go and speak to people, and yeah, give them your thoughts and feedback on what they've delivered, because we're helping each other then too.
Yeah. Can I give a couple of tips as well for MSPs that are coming along? Like us three have been to so many of these events over the years, high profile events, and there's so much to see and do there. There's so many people that you want to have conversations with, but it can get away from you, and it's late nights and early mornings. And so a couple of things I want to throw out there just as ideas. Firstly, put time in your diary beforehand to look at the agenda and to write out what you actually want to get from this event. And I know it sounds so obvious, but I can't tell you the number of people who just rock up to the events and go, well, I'm not really sure why I'm here or what I want to get out of this, who I want to see speak, and so on and so forth. Crazy. You are putting the time and energy, the investment in going along to these events. So put a little bit of prep in. And if you're very smartly bringing your team along as well, try and divide the labor up there. So try and say, hey, you go to that session, I'll go to this session, and yeah, that sort of thing. The other thing I would say is start to reach out to people now, and start to let people know now that you're going to be at the event. So if you're watching this live stream, share on your social media that you're watching the live stream, and share that I'm going to be in London for this event on this day, on these dates, and people will reach out to you. If you let people know, you'd be surprised. There's going to be people who perhaps follow you on social media or know of you, or you work in a similar sort of niche or a vertical or whatever. They will reach out to you and say, hey, can we catch up? Can we have a coffee? So the more you put it out there, the more lucky you tend to be, and the more serendipity there tends to be with connecting with people who are going to be good for you and your business as well. So those are the two things I would say. Do some prep beforehand. Let people know you're going to be along there at the event as well, so people will naturally want to catch up with you as well. And I'll throw a third one in, a bonus one. We talked about the rock stars of the industry and the OGs and the people that us three have learned from. There was a very smart man told me once, and we all know who he is. He said, "Vision without execution is hallucination," and that was Arlen Sorensen, one of the absolute legends in our industry, involved with Evolve peer groups and ConnectWise for a very, very long time. I had Arlen on the podcast a few weeks ago, and Arlen said, "You're always quoting me as saying that. It wasn't me, it was such and such philosopher or whatever." And I said, dude, in our industry, you said it, and you're the one who gets credit for it. But there we go. But vision without execution is hallucination. What that means is when you come along to this event, it's going to be 3 really packed days. It's easy for you to get a ton of good ideas from the events, and then to go back to the office on Monday morning, and this rings and it pings, and your email and your service desk and everything else, you get overwhelmed by the stuff, and you do absolutely nothing with all of the good connections and all of the good ideas that you picked up from IT Nation. So one thing I would say that I learned from Arlen, and I sort of share with people, put time in the diary after the events to almost do a debrief with yourself, to look at your notepad, to look at your OneNote, to look at the voice notes, whatever it might be, and to go, who do I need to follow up with? What did I learn? What do I need to delve deeper into? What do I need to action? And just put 30 minutes in the calendar, 30 to 60 minutes in the calendar. Don't do it in the office. If you work in an office, get yourself out to the local library or a coffee shop or the pub or whatever it might be. Sit down and just reflect on who you met, what you learned, what you need to do with that information afterwards, because vision without execution is hallucination, and ideas without doing anything with ideas are just ideas. They don't go any further forward. So yeah, that's the number one thing I've done with my time at events, as an MSP, as a speaker, everything else in between going forward. But it just pays dividends. You're putting a lot of time and money into coming along to these events, so make sure that you get the ROI from them.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. What a wonderful way to wrap us up, I think, for today's session. Absolutely. Let's get the value out of the time that we spend together, and let's make sure that we go and execute on the things that we've learned and take those golden nuggets and turn them into the things that are going to make 2025 and beyond a real catalyst for our businesses and our lives. So, Richard, a huge thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure.
And we'll do it all again in person in less than 2 weeks, which I can't wait.
I'm going to be sticking cameras in both of your faces to do interviews, so just be aware of that. So yeah.
Only if it's 5 a.m., Richard. So anytime I do any kind of live stuff.
I said I'm going to be knocking on your hotel room now that I know you like to get up at 5 a.m. to speak to me, Sean.
He does now.
Knocking on your hotel room to do more of these things. So yeah.
I do. I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm already so excited about it right now. Like that I almost might not even make my flight. I'm so excited. But yes, we literally have 2 weeks. Also, we didn't even highlight, Dan. We should real quick. We will be doing IT Nation Gives, charity fundraising. For those that have not had a chance to see this over the years, we've really ramped up being philanthropy as a platform. Essentially, we have the audience, we have the people listening. Just gives a chance for people that are trying to raise money for really specific, really special charities to get involved in this. So we will be doing, one of our colleagues, actually, Jessica, she's the one that brought it to us. And for all you guys that have made a lot of money in the industry, you're all welcome for that. Now give back. We talk about the go-giver mentality. This would be the best time to do it. And plus, it's for dogs. And I am a dog person. I'm an animal. I'm like Elmira. Like I want to hug every dog I see. So yeah. So yeah, look out for that as well. And we'll be putting out a GoFundMe so people can actually donate to this. We're not looking for much money. Just like, I don't know. I think whatever number they gave me, I doubled in general, just because I think people have enough money to give it, and they should. So yeah, look out for that information coming out shortly. Otherwise, yeah, Richard, thanks, dude, for hanging out.
My pleasure.
And joining us. It should be a fun time. Dan, as always, you look great. I can't wait to see you again in person.
$20 well spent. There we go.
$20. But yeah, looking forward to it all. Excited to see you all. Excited to see everybody at the event. This is my first IT Nation London trip ever.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. So for me, this is like, it's like
well,
fresh ground.
I can't wait to see both of you. Dan, I get to spend a little bit more time with, so he's going to be sick of the sight of me. But Sean, I don't get to spend enough time with you, so I'm looking forward to it. And I'll just say publicly here as well, what you two do for this industry. I know you do these live streams. I've looked at them, a number of times, and that people appreciate what you do. I appreciate what you do, and IT Nation is shaping up to be an awesome event. People have got in touch with me recently because I've been. Mike, obviously, I can't hide my excitement very well at all. It shows through on videos that I do and on the podcast and the emails that I've done, but I'm super excited about this again. So thank you again for inviting me along. And thanks for everything you two do for the industry. You are rock stars and you are awesome.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you for your support.
Just like Miley Cyrus said, I'm coming in like a wrecking ball.
Oh, dear. It'll be memorable.
It'll be something. I mean, if we're all lucky, we won't remember a thing.
Everybody, the IT, on that note, I will be the one that rounds it out so we don't get in trouble with Simon, our producer. theitnation.com if you want to go and see the full agenda and see how you can get involved. And I am not just saying it, I promise. Tickets are running out quick. So if you haven't yet had a chance to get your tickets and get registered for the event, go to theitnation.com, all one word. Get signed up, and we will see you in London, March the 10th to the 12th at the Hilton Metropole on Edgware Road. IT Nation Connect Europe. From Richard, from Sean, and I, we will see you there. Take care. See you soon, everyone.